You've heard it said, health is wealth, so enrich your life with the Healthy Home Hour, brought to you by the Healthy Home Market. Every Sunday, 9 to 10 a.m. Know what's new and classic for health and wellness. Meet the local and national experts. Live God's plan to thrive, not just survive. I'm your host, Holly Adams, and welcome to the Healthy Home Hour.
Merry Christmas, friends. Hope it's been a weekend of faith, family, and good food. But I know you have felt the love and blessings this weekend. I know I'm grateful for my little family get-together, and I'm also thankful for the work of our guest. This Healthy Home Hour, Alan Burns of Think Global Green, is here again. And it's been a while, actually. In fact, it was 2.5 years ago, back when the Healthy Home Hour was live on Saturday mornings. And since then, Alan continues to be very dedicated to our earthly blessings, those of, well, like air, water, soil, and sea. I mean, what would happen if you couldn't breathe the air without being sick? Or what if you couldn't drink water or grow or even buy healthy veggies? What if all the fish were toxic and gave you mercury poisoning? And the big question, what about your kids and your grandkids? Well, Alan Burns has been on it, and today we're going to hear about the good things that he and his peeps have been doing for the rest of us, and what simple things you can do for a blessed future for your family. And to start you off in that direction in the new year at the Healthy Home Market, I want to just let you know that on January 16th at 1 to 4, it's the Health and Wellness Fair right off of I-77 exit 30. And there will be, well, all kinds of tasty organic treats and samples galore throughout the store. And info on sustainability, our subject for today. And in the new year, you can also, of course, expect the same good and some new informative classes in the Community Wellness Center. And check it out for yourself. There's deals and discounts. And if you haven't finished your shopping yet for the holiday season, I know some people haven't, you can check it out and see hats and the mittens and gloves and scarves and all kinds of good things we have at the Healthy Home Market. Still going on for you right there. And check it out. Go to the website at healthyhomemkt.com. That's healthyhomemkt.com. So, Alan, I am so pleased that you're here today. I know you've just come off of a very big trip. You were in Paris, actually. You're coming back from a pilgrimage. Tell us a little bit about that. What is a pilgrimage all about?
Okay, yeah, well, this is a follow-up to the pilgrimage we went on in 2014 to Tacloban in the Philippines, and that was to commemorate the anniversary of Typhoon Haiyan devastating that town back in 2013.
Mm-hmm, right.
And Yeb Sanyo, who was the climate commissioner at that time, was on that walk. Since then, he's left the government in the Philippines and as climate commissioner, and now he's a sort of a roving ambassador for Our Voices. He's been to various places around the world this year, such as India, Australia, and Pacific Islands, which are being devastated by climate change. And he basically led the walk from Rome to Paris. We started off in Rome on September 30th after an audience with the Pope, and then over 59 days made our way through northern Italy into Switzerland, across the Alps, and through to Paris by November 27th, just ahead of the COP talks.
My goodness, and you walked that whole way?
We had to take a few shortcuts with buses and trains because it would have taken 3 months actually to doing the whole walk. But in France, we included a 4-day bike ride from Geneva to Lyon because of the distance, so we could make it to Paris by the time. But overall, it was about 900 miles.
That's incredible. How did your body hold up?
This time better than it was in the Philippines. I was more prepared for it, yeah.
Oh, good. So you trained for it and...
Well, I think my muscles gave up in the Philippines, my thigh muscles and my shin muscle, which stopped me walking for 2 days. But I think all that walking there has left me much stronger for this time. So, yeah, it was much easier in that sense.
You know, a lot of people, when they think about a pilgrimage, they think about a spiritual journey, and like there's one in northern Spain that goes over to Santiago.
Well, yeah, I'd like to add here that we did go on a lot of pilgrimage routes. There's a famous one from Canterbury through to Rome, which has been there for centuries, and very often we were on those parts of those trails, which was very tricky, up mountainsides, over rocks, through forests. Yeah, it wasn't easy. It's much easier walking on roads, but we did use a lot of pilgrimage routes, both in Italy and in France as well.
Yeah, I remember that incredible movie with Martin Sheen, The Way.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you were, it's your second one, right? You did the Philippines earlier. Mm-hmm. And were there a lot of other people joining you all?
Yeah, we started out about 10 of us from Rome. There were supposed to be about 21 Filipinos coming, but the Italian government only gave out 5 visas. And about another half dozen Filipinos actually joined us in France, in Lyon, afterwards, when they got visas from the French consulate in the Philippines. Otherwise, there should have been a lot more Filipinos. And then there were about a dozen of us from other countries, one from Hong Kong and one from Congo, others from France, Italy, Germany, and England.
So were there as many as hundreds of people converging, coming from Scandinavia?
Well, ultimately there were about 24 of us on the final walk into Paris. But there were walks coming from Germany, Eastern Europe, England. We met quite a few cyclists who cycled over from England in Paris as well. Yeah.
Interesting. Very committed. You know, I thinking of Paris. I mean, we've kind of all had Paris on our minds because of the terrorism attacks not long ago, and that happened just before you got to Paris, actually.
Yeah, it was about
right?
10 or 14 days. It's very hard to keep track of the days. I've got to go through all my records again to see where we were and when we heard this. But that disturbed the actual final walk into Paris because we had to go in small groups. Police wouldn't allow groups of more than 3. But we did do some group walks in Paris after, once we had arrived on the Sunday, the day before the cop talk started. We had a parade with all the media around us in the Place de la République, where there was a display of about 10,000 pairs of shoes to represent all the people who weren't able to join the big march, which was cancelled in Paris.
That must have been so moving to see all those shoes.
It was very moving, emotional, because there were little kids' shoes, and a lot of people left little messages on each pair for calling for climate action and everything like that. Yeah.
So you mentioned the COP meetings, which is an acronym for Conference of the Parties. And, you know, we don't hear much about it in the regular news here, more than we used to, I guess. But we still don't hear very much because we get all U.S. news and it's American politics.
Yeah.
What is the Conference of the Parties meeting? Why is it so important?
Okay, well, it began in 1995 in Berlin. That was COP1. And at the end of each year, there's been a COP meeting ever since then. It lasts about 2 weeks around the world, different countries. Last year, it was in Peru. And this year was Paris. I think a lot of people may remember the one in Copenhagen in 2009, which everyone was so optimistic about, and it turned out to be a disaster. And then we've stumbled along till COP21. My feelings before we started the pilgrimage was that this time they have to come to some agreement on doing something, because the situation has been getting so much worse over the last 6 years, and public pressure around the world, also from the main faith communities, have demanded action for climate justice. So there was I think the news was reported around the world that they had this great agreement to limit CO2 emissions to 2 degrees or even 1.5. So it was the best COP ever. The trouble was, and I agree with some of the writers I've seen on The Guardian, that it was a disaster. It just wasn't enough.
So it sounds as though it was a start, at least. It's a start. It's better than it was.
It's been internationally, they've acknowledged there's a serious problem, and they've committed to making pledges to do something about it. But unfortunately, there's nothing legally binding. And for the indigenous peoples around the world who are suffering, they were very disappointed that there was no mention of their plight.
Now, when you say indigenous peoples around the world, where do you mean exactly?
The people in the Pacific Islands that are getting submerged by water, they're having to leave their lands. They will have to leave. There'd be no doubt about that.
And some people are actually leaving their homes now?
Some are leaving now. Some are going to New Zealand and places like that. And the refugee crisis that we've experienced around the world this last 6 months or so results from the climate problem in Syria, which goes back about 7 or 8 years. There's a big drought, and that upset the agriculture, that set off the civil war, and now it's setting off migrants. And I think everyone acknowledges at the UN level that that's the issue for the future. There's going to be far more migrations going on. There'll be millions of people moving around the planet wanting to get away from lowlands. Bangladesh is a prime example. The Maldives is very threatened, and a lot of islands in the Pacific. I spoke with some islanders who were with us in Assisi for 2 days, and they were there on a pilgrimage from Assisi to Rome. And they're very concerned about their countries, obviously. Yeah, the sea level rise is going to mean they have to move.
It's so fun. It's strange, because it's and difficult to get your arms around, because it's so wet in some areas and there's all this flooding, and then there's major drought in other areas. So is it really about doing something with all this water, and because the water is melting from the snow caps?
Yeah, the increase we've increased by 1 degree at the moment since industrial times, and the 1.5 or 2 is inevitable before 2050. And if governments keep to the pledges they've now made, the increase is going to be more like 3.6 degrees, maybe more by the end of the century. So it's still very serious, and no one really knows. We're in an uncharted territory. The sort of incidents we've been hearing about in the last few years, Katrina, the polar vortex, the droughts in California, and other things around the world, are all a result of the 1 degrees temperature rise. They are things that will happen, but they've been exacerbated by sea level rise and warming oceans.
I see. So this is what scientists are talking about, and it's not just a conspiracy theory or the angst or worry of hippies or Al Gore, but it really is. I mean, even NASA talks about
it's really happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
While I was in Italy, I think it was around Bologna, then I got the news about the flooding in South Carolina, which the southeast of USA has never been really affected by climate change, and that was a historic flood, and 21 people, I believe, were killed.
It's interesting, because it seems like we really have been, we've been very lucky here in the South, but I'm wondering, how do we really rank in terms of sustainability? I'm wondering, like on a scale of 1 to 10, or is this area?
We got a long way to go, because the Southeast is still one of the biggest consumers of fossil fuels, burning coal. This is the worst part of the U.S. is the Southeast.
Yes, I have read that there's as much as 40 billion gallons a day just used. It's like 2/3 of our water used just for electricity.
This is a problem with both nuclear and coal. They're all based on rivers or on the oceans, because they need water. And when droughts happen, as they did in 2003, tens of thousands of people lost their lives in Italy and France. Because of the heat wave, then, because they had to shut down the coal plants and the nuclear plants, and the heat wave. Yeah, you cannot run these plants when in a heat wave situation, because the water is too hot to put back into the system, so they have to shut down, and that's something that we may have to face more in the future.
It's interesting. I mean, there's some good things happening too, amongst all this almost shocking devastation. It's a little overwhelming. But there are some good things.
Yeah, we have the solutions.
Yeah, we do, and that's
it's the willpower at the governmental level. It isn't operative at the moment. The solar power is now very economical to put into place, although subsidies to fossil fuels still outranks renewables by about 6 to 1. So if that equation changed, it would be dramatic change. And recently, Elon Musk's company, he's the guy who basically makes the Tesla cars, which can basically run all over the country and never have to put out any emissions. And hopefully by 2017, the $35,000 or $30,000 car will be available to everybody. And that means we can come off oil. if people start to buy Tesla cars. And I think Apple is trying to bring out a car to compete with that. The solutions are there. And in the last couple of years, Elon storage for the renewables is a big thing. And Elon Musk is building mega factories now to produce batteries, which will store solar during the heat of the day and use during the night. For myself, I have 22 solar panels. If I can throw a few more up there and get one of your storage units, I could come off the grid.
That is very, very exciting. I'm so glad that there are solutions, and you're here to tell us about them. And we want to dig in more to what happened in Paris and how that looks for us for the future. So folks, stay with us. We're with Alan Burns from Think Global Green. We'll be right back. We've got some solutions to all this. And you've heard it. You're hearing it right here on Streets 103.3, the number one station in the streets.
Feeling tired after meals? Are you embarrassed by occasional gas, bloating, or indigestion at inopportune times? You may have an enzyme deficiency. Did you know that many common digestive discomforts can be caused by poor digestion? When food isn't completely digested, it begins to ferment in the digestive tract, which may cause uncomfortable symptoms that are also not healthy. Digest Gold is America's #1 selling enzyme product and offers unparalleled support for your digestive needs. Digest Gold contains exclusive blends of enzymes optimized to be 3 times stronger and work more than 6 times faster than other leading digestive supplements. With just 1 capsule per meal, Digest Gold offers natural support to break down carbohydrates, fats, fiber, and protein. Enzymedica products are all natural, vegetarian, contain absolutely no fillers, and when possible are vegan and kosher. You'll find Digest Gold and other Enzymedica products at fine health food stores near you. Learn more at enzymedica.com. That's ENZYMEDICA.com. Enzymedica.com.
Get healthy at the Healthy Home Market, your locally owned natural and specialty foods grocery store. Try new Fresh Daily Hot Bar with meats, fish, and veggies. Cool off with fresh juices, smoothies, and banana whips. Stay healthy with the Healthy Home Market.
Does your business recycle their cardboard? If not, they should. Recycling cardboard at your business can save money. It's not only the right thing to do, it can save money as well. Now that's a winner-winner chicken dinner. And we want to help, so log on to wipeoutwaste.com.
Hey, we're back. Glad you're here. I'm Holly Adams, your host, with the Healthy Home Hour, sponsored by the Healthy Home Market, with 3 stores, 2 in Charlotte, 1 up in Davidson. And we're here today with Alan Burns of Think Global Green. We're talking about sustainability and what's happening with, the warming of the planet and what that does to water everywhere. Like sometimes it's a drought over here, but it's a flood over there. So and Alan, you're just fresh back from the Paris Conference of the Parties talk, and you did this incredible pilgrimage from Rome to Paris. And, I'm wondering, I know that even the Pentagon, it knows and is poised and values the science on climate change.
Yeah, they brought out a report in 2004 saying that climate change was the biggest threat to the national security. And in fact, recently I've seen items which go back to when President Reagan was in power, and also the elder Bush, that they saw climate change as a threat to national security. This is back in the 80s.
So what has happened? Because there's such a movement, on one side to deny it.
Well, the reports, I think it's been come out recently more in the news about Exxon having just sort of lied about the facts, because they've known about this ever since the 80s as well, and they've just been fudging it, confusing it. It's a corporation, they want to sell oil. On my website, on the experts page, in fact, there's a New York Times expose of this, which goes back about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. So they knew that the scientists that Exxon employed to look at the situation told Exxon that, yes, global warming is man-made. It's burning fossil fuels. So they knew that at the time. And then they just lied about it. And now they're being investigated by the district attorney in New York, and maybe all the documents will be exposed, and we'll know what's gone on. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned before the break that you actually have, is it 24 solar panels?
22.
22. And so there's going to be the gentleman from Tesla has a plan, is working on
they're-
building.
Well, they're building
batteries.
them now. They're actually starting to install these in places in Australia primarily, and I can't remember what the other country is. It's not the US yet, but that's where they're starting because that's where the market is.
So somebody could Google Tesla and battery,
Yes.
and it would all come up, and they could check it out.
Yeah.
And I know there has been some sort of tax breaks for folks that are putting solar panels on their homes, and you have mentioned.
Yeah,
I've
I
heard you
benefited
talk
from
about
this. Yeah.
and schools are doing it.
Yeah, Greenpeace in Charlotte, they did the Solarize Charlotte last year, and I'm not sure about the actual numbers, but I've heard about 100 people signed up to have solar panels put on their roofs because of that. And this year they've been concentrating on getting solar panels onto school buildings because all school buildings have flat roofs. They
Right.
are ideal to get solar energy, and that's been very much used in California and other places. So it makes sense for North Carolina. We get so much sun here.
Yeah, we really do. I mean,
Yeah, but Duke Energy and they have the legislators in Raleigh under their thumb, and they sort of like squash any advance for solar. They don't want solar because they get their money from burning coal and nuclear.
it's interesting. You think about all this and trying to create a balance, and we're going through such a shift technologically in our country and in our world. And I just keep thinking of that old expression of the Native Americans who say, what we do to the earth, we do to each other. And, in the health food world, it's all about the connection between organic local foods and sustainability. And do you think, you really an expert in this field, if everybody really put it first, sustainability, do you think that we could really make changes that count?
But the changes, we can make the changes. We understand that a lot of countries in Europe and around the world now are banning GMOs. America isn't there yet. We're a long way off. In France, it was very obvious to me because that's a country with a lot of small farmers. They don't allow. They produce natural food. It's healthy food. It's the French really care about their diets and food they have, and it's great. That's one of the nice things about being in France is the foods you get there. And I think a lot something very similar applies in Italy. I'm not such an expert on Italy. I haven't spent that much time there. But yeah, the small farmers, they grow the food. It's all local and it's all fresh.
Yes, it's very different than these big, huge monocultures of, thousands of fields of just tomatoes. And
yeah, here we just go to the big stores and buy processed food, which has been organically, it's been grown with
all the GMOs
Monsanto pesticides and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of that, and it's interesting. You really hit a subject that I am fond of, food. We all love our food, and it's very important to really understand how food is grown, because that's really what you're making your body from, or trying to heal an illness with food. I think it was Hippocrates that said, let medicine be your food and food be your medicine, or vice versa. And I'm wondering, do you hear a lot about how food production would change as a result of climate change?
It's going to affect the way food can be grown. Yeah, in different countries they'll have to change. One quick example is that in Spain and southern Europe, their wine production is going to suffer, and the big and growing areas now are going to be like places like England. Amazingly, it's moving. The temperatures are getting warmer, more northerly. So they can grow. That's the example with wine, and it probably stretches out to other products as well. One of the big things about climate change is agriculture itself is responsible for far more global greenhouse gas emissions than transport. Eating meat is the big no. The amount of
the energy that it takes to
this factory farming, producing enough meat to feed the world is one of the biggest causes of greenhouse gas emissions.
Well, that gets into the whole methane
It's-
problem.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the methane. Well, methane is far more serious than CO2 in one sense because it's far more powerful for heating the climate. Although it's got a shorter life, it's like 14 years as opposed to 100 years or more for CO2. But it has a more immediate impact.
Well, that reminds me to ask you about the whole idea of the ice caps melting and that Arctic is 1/5 the size it used to be. And they're saying
this
that
is a problem, and it's happening in Alaska and places now. Is as the temperatures warm much more quickly at the poles than here. The average temperature in Alaska, I think I reported on my webpage last year, was 7 degrees. They've had a 7-degree increase, so the ice caps are melting faster, and that means the permafrost is melting, and that's releasing what is termed, I got it on my methane page, I think, the carbon bomb. That's the big problem. There's billions of tons of methane ready to bubble out of the earth, and it's starting to happen now.
And that is because there's such a huge depth of peat, like marshland.
Yes, the peat and everything that's been trapped underground for hundreds of thousands of years is now being it's open and it's starting to come out. It shouldn't. We should keep it there.
Keep it right where it is, right?
It's a problem.
On your website, which is very good, by the way, in my opinion, the thinkglobalgreen.org, there are these tough statistics and reports of how difficult it is and may become. But you also there's a lot of positive stories about ingenious people doing amazing alternatives for energy, and even things like geothermal and we've mentioned solar, and then there's also wind energy. Tell us a little bit about that, and the idea that could actually take over if we would just support it.
It's up to nations basically to get on board and invest in it. I'm reporting on this weekend's page that Costa Rica now this year has got 99% of their energy from renewables. Uruguay is at 95%. Scotland is really aiming for 100%. I can't remember the date, something like 2030. So yeah, some countries are doing a lot. Norway's doing a lot, but it's the countries that are biggest emitters, such as Canada and USA and Australia. They're the ones that really need to change around. And Canada's the situation's improved a lot there over the last few months because we have a new government there that acknowledges climate change. The previous government, the Harper government, was basically denying science, and they were concentrating on developing the tar sands in Alberta. And now those are under, that's now in question that they can develop those anymore.
Now, how did that stop? The Keystone Pipeline issue with bringing the tar sands down. Why did that get, they put the kibosh on that?
Well, it's been a political hot potato for years. There have been the demonstrations to get Obama to say no. I don't know why it took him so long to say no. But what happened earlier this year in Alberta was the entrenched Republican or sort of conservative government that had been there for forever got shoved out of office. They fell to a minor party, and the new government said, "Okay, we're going to sort of start taxing carbon. We're going to start concentrating on renewables." So that was a sort of a start to the sea change. And then the election, while I was on the walk with Michael Trudeau being elected president, Prime Minister,
yeah.
Have a parliamentary system now. That was very encouraging because he is now acknowledging global warming is serious, and he wants to turn Canada around on that and accept the science and go to the science. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Is it Michael or Justin Michael?
I think I know it's Trudeau. I've got Michael in my mind.
Okay, I'm not sure. We'll have to Google it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But he is the son of Pierre Trudeau.
Yes.
From years ago, from the 70s, right?
80s.
80s? Okay.
Yeah, because Pierre Trudeau was very influential when I was I think I mentioned on the last program, there was an open-ended fast back in 83 on nuclear arms build-up, and Pierre Trudeau was very influential in arresting that.
Oh, that's fascinating.
climb.
We're going to have to get back to that. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away, folks. We're talking to Alan Burns, who's really filling us in on all kinds of, well, geopolitical stuff and the climate and how we can really take care of our earth and be good stewards for our kids and grandkids. So stay with us. You're listening to the Healthy Home Hour, brought to you by the Healthy Home Market.
Feeling tired after meals? Are you embarrassed by occasional gas, bloating, or indigestion at inopportune times? You may have an enzyme deficiency. Did you know that many common digestive discomforts can be caused by poor digestion? When food isn't completely digested, it begins to ferment in the digestive tract, which may cause uncomfortable symptoms that are also not healthy. Digest Gold is America's #1 selling enzyme product. It offers unparalleled support for your digestive needs. Digest Gold contains exclusive blends of enzymes optimized to be 3 times stronger and work more than 6 times faster than other leading digestive supplements. With just 1 capsule per meal, Digest Gold offers natural support to break down carbohydrates, fats, fiber, and protein. Enzymedica products are all natural, vegetarian, contain absolutely no fillers, and when possible are vegan and kosher. You'll find Digest Gold and other Enzymedica products at fine health food stores near you. Learn more at enzymedica.com. That's ENZYMEDICA.com. Enzymedica.com.
Get healthy at the Healthy Home Market, your locally owned natural and specialty foods grocery store. Try new Fresh Daily Hot Bar with meats, fish, and veggies. Cool off with fresh juices, smoothies, and banana whips. Stay healthy with the Healthy Home Market.
Does your business recycle their cardboard? If not, they should. Recycling cardboard at your business can save money. It's not only the right thing to do, it can save money as well. Now that's a winner-winner chicken dinner. And we want to help, so log on to wipeoutwaste.com.
Glad you're here today. Merry Christmas, this beautiful Christmas weekend. I'm Holly Adams, your host. We're here with Alan Burns from Think Global Green, talking about the Paris Conference of the Parties talks, the COP, the COP21 meetings that seem to be more productive than the previous 20 meetings. So it's looking positive. Alan, we've talked about so many things already this morning, like wind power and solar power, and you were just talking about Premier Trudeau, the son of Pierre Trudeau from the 80s. And, there's a lot of positive things happening. And I just want you to go back to what you said about what you were doing in the 80s and why an open-ended fast, which I've heard you talk about possibly doing again, but for the climate. That you did it in the 80s against nuclear proliferation.
Yeah, I was connected to the Fast for Life. The 14 people around the world went on an open-ended fast starting on Hiroshima Day, 1983. This is before the days of the internet, and they succeeded in getting the involvement of world leaders to act. So they were able to end their fast on the 40th day. And that, to me, that shows the power that the people themselves can do by taking action and committing. The world leaders have to be pushed by the people. It's up to us, ultimately. We cannot rely on government leaders to do it. It's up to the people. And that's what the pilgrimages are about. It's just people starting to take action by themselves, to put pressure on and educate people. As on the pilgrimages, we meet people along the way, we tell them what's happening, why we're on the walk, why we're committed to this sort of thing. So yeah, it's going to be people that make the change. And one thing that's happened in the last 12 months is that people are becoming engaged in many different ways, and pushing the faith communities, the Anglicans, the Catholics, and Muslims have all come out with serious demands that we do something about climate change. It's a moral issue now.
A moral issue, a justice.
It's a just moral issue. It's a justice issue, yeah.
So,
because as I said before, the people suffering from climate change today are the ones who are not causing the problem.
Yeah. It always seems that's the way it goes. There's I know one of the things, just to bring it home a little bit, that I was really surprised about is that, in fact, Charlotte was recently voted best city east of the Mississippi for animal life. And, a city that has animal life in it, which is kind of amazing. And you hear all kinds of things like LA, in fact, is busy changing their streetlights and insulating buildings differently and promoting bicycling, which we are doing here also through Sustain Charlotte, which is kind of a surprise given we're a big car city.
Yeah, that was one of the surprising things to me in France, especially, is you can go from town to town on cycle tracks.
On cycle tracks, so
you can actually travel through most of France without being on the roads. So walking or cycling is very accommodated there.
Is that from the old? I know at one point they had a program here called, or a little further south, I remember in Florida there was something called the Rails to Trails. Is that what they're doing in France? They're turning railroad into.
No.
Okay,
I mean, they have a very efficient rail system in any case to begin with. But as in England, they have a lot of canals. We walked quite a lot along canals, and you can avoid the main roads and towns. Yeah.
So there's something also that's very intriguing and exciting called the C40 Cities Initiative. What is that?
Yeah, that's I've got a page on my website. You have to scroll down the right-hand side to find some of these new pages, because this shows the initiative that ordinary people are making, like Richard Branson and Michael Bloomberg and Bill Clinton. They're investing in getting towns and cities around the world to adopt sustainable measures and to recognize climate change, and because the cities have to change as well, because they're the big consumers and users of energy. And many cities around the world are on the coast, and they're the ones that are threatened with sea level rise. Yeah,
sure. So they're getting mayors and governors involved?
Oh, yeah. Cities and governors and mayors in countries are actually doing, some countries, like as I mentioned earlier, Uruguay and Costa Rica, they are taking action. They're doing things because they know the seriousness of it. They've listened to the science, and we've known this since the 80s.
It is staggering to think that 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're still not quite where we need to be, but it sounds like we're kind of poised, and we have the people, the grassroots efforts coming.
There is a grassroots effort, and this seems very prominent in France. The young people there are really concerned about climate change, and there's a history in France of farmers and students standing up to government and making demands, and that's evolving again.
I'm thinking, it's all about the voters really coming forward, and young people getting involved. That's so encouraging. And is there a large percentage of voters? Is there finally 50%, 70% of voters? Are there stats out there that people are getting it?
I haven't got the figures in my head. I haven't done the research, but I believe that the voting percentage in Europe is far higher than here. It's very low here.
It's so interesting. It seems to be the way of history. I can't remember if it was Franklin Roosevelt or it was Jack Kennedy or Johnson who said, make me do it. Make me make the change that needs to be done.
Yes. Obama basically said this when he came into office. About Keystone, he said, "Give me, make the pressure strong enough so I can say no."
Exactly. It's so interesting. There's so many people who have been so inspiring over the years. Everybody knows who studied Martin Luther King and reveres him and knows of his life and what he has done, what he did, that he really looked to Gandhi for a lot of nonviolent effort for the civil rights movement. Do you think that climate change will continue to be mostly nonviolent?
I would hope so. I'm afraid there could be some violence, because when people can't find food and survive, yes, you never know what they will turn to. One of the things about the Yeb Sanyo, who's basically led the last two pilgrimages, and with me, is also part of an organization called...
it escaped you.
I hate when
You'll come back to it. It's an organization that does what?
Fast for the Climate.
Okay.
Yeah, Fast for the Climate, yes. And that's spread to over 20 countries now. 92 countries around the world. Thousands of people are fasting on the first day of each month. and anyone can sort of take part in this in whatever way they wish to by going to fastfortheclimate.org, and that is another thing that's happening around the world. The pressure there. In Paris, I was both with the pilgrims who walked with events that they had at churches and places at the COP talks themselves, and I'm also involved with the Fast for the Climate group, as I was in Lima at COP20 last year. So yeah, fasting is also a very important thing. It's a non-violent way, as in walking and fasting are non-violent expressions to say we care, we're taking it upon ourselves to do these now because this is a very important issue for us. The future of humanity basically is at stake here. If we go to 3.6 or 4 or 5 C temperature rise by the end of the century, I'm not sure that if our species can actually survive that.
Yes, and it's Gandhi that really got that going, the fasting and the walking as an effort.
Yes. I mean, when you do something like that, a pilgrimage, and that's what you go with the hope that it will make a change. I believe the British weren't too concerned about Gandhi going to make some salt, but it was a big factor in bringing down the British rule in India. Ultimately, it's a very simple act.
Yes.
And that's once he made salt, everybody in India started to make their own salt, and the whole system collapsed.
Because they didn't need to get the salt from.
Well, yeah.
From
Britain wanted
British.
They didn't want Indians making their own salt. They wanted to bring in salt and get the taxes from it.
Yes. Speaking of food and sustainability, there's a lot of conversation out there that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, is actually underestimating the food that's in our landfills, that there's a lot of food in there and there's a lot of liquid and it runs through computers and pulls out heavy metals and then it gets into the streams and it's downstream. Can you? Yeah,
we've got many environmental problems. I mean, in the news at the moment, there's that news about Detroit's water. The town outside of Detroit, they're getting its water from Detroit, and now there's a lot of mental health problems there.
Sure.
We've got to start looking after our air and water. We've got to stop polluting it. Burning fossil fuels is one of the biggest ways we pollute our atmosphere, and we suffer from it in health. The health costs in America are extraordinarily high because we're damaging our systems.
Right, we're just inhaling all of this and drinking it. Well, I'm glad that there are some alternatives, and we're talking about them today. We're going to take another short break. We'll be right back, folks, to talk about some wind and geothermal and solar energy and what you can do to do your part for cleaning up the planet and making it a good place for your kids, right here on the Healthy Home Hour.
Feeling tired after meals? Are you embarrassed by occasional gas, bloating, or indigestion at inopportune times? You may have an enzyme deficiency. Did you know that many common digestive discomforts can be caused by poor digestion? When food isn't completely digested, it begins to ferment in the digestive tract, which may cause uncomfortable symptoms that are also not healthy. Digest Gold is America's #1 selling enzyme product. It offers unparalleled support for your digestive needs. Digest Gold contains exclusive blends of enzymes optimized to be 3 times stronger and work more than 6 times faster than other leading digestive supplements. With just 1 capsule per meal, Digest Gold offers natural support to break down carbohydrates, fats, fiber, and protein. Enzymedica products are all natural, vegetarian, contain absolutely no fillers, and when possible are vegan and kosher. You'll find Digest Gold and other Enzymedica products at fine health food stores near you. Learn more at enzymedica.com. That's ENZYMEDICA.com. Enzymedica.com.
Get healthy at the Healthy Home Market, your locally owned natural and specialty foods grocery store. Try new Fresh Daily Hot Bar with meats, fish, and veggies. Cool off with fresh juices, smoothies, and banana whips. Stay healthy with the Healthy Home Market.
Does your business recycle their cardboard? If not, they should. Recycling cardboard at your business can save money. It's not only the right thing to do, it can save money as well. Now that's a winner-winner chicken dinner. And we want to help, so log on to wipeoutwaste.com.
Hey, glad you're back. You're listening to the Healthy Home Hour, sponsored by the Healthy Home Market. We're talking about sustainability and the Conference of the Parties meeting in Paris with Alan Burns, who was there on a pilgrimage all the way from Rome, and it took many, many days. It was about 59 days of walking. And before the break, we were talking about composting or landfills and the food in the landfills. So I just want to bring up, before we move on, and to circle back on that composting is very important. It's easy to figure out how to do it. Or you can contact a company called Crown Town Compost, and that's a compost company that the Healthy Home Market uses. We've had great success with them. And also every month at the Healthy Home Market in Plaza Midwood at the Community Wellness Center, there's a gardening class on permaculture, which is fascinating. And everybody's very generous with their time and knowledge. And people bring plants and, edible plants that you can put into your garden to grow, a wonderful herb garden or a special kind of tree that will grow nuts that will sustain you. And then how to work with water and make swales. It's very, very interesting. So I highly recommend you check that out at healthyhomemkt.com, along with a lot of other sustainable products that we have, such as it's a great product by Jordan Rubin, who started Garden of Life. This is a whole new line that we now carry in our vitamin departments. It's called Get Real Nutrition, and it is a fascinating way to get the nutrition you need. It's a superfood, and there's one to be fit. There's actually four different strains for being fit, to help your brain, for the immune system. It's very interesting. Get Real Nutrition, and it's all GMO free and sustainable. So, Alan, as far as sustainability goes, and what the kind of things that we can do to mitigate and balance out this problem, what kinds of things would you recommend people get into?
Well, first of all, I've got 2 pages on my website. One is conservation, and one is what you can do. So there's a whole string of things that people can look at and see what they can do themselves. Like we no longer dry our clothes in the dryer at home, because that's an energy guzzler. So we use the sun outside.
Pretty well. You have a clothesline, and
yeah,
and they smell fresh, and they're
yeah. That's one little thing. Obviously, compost and things like that as well. But one of the things that I became aware of last year, and this is through Yep Sanyo, I hadn't heard about this until last year. There's something called World Overshoot Day.
Oh.
And about 10 years ago, World Overshoot Day was ranked in sort of October. And this year, I think it's August 19th. That's the date when, given the world's population, we use up all the world's resources at that date that we can economically use. World Overshoot Day actually should be December 31st every year, but it's getting further back every year. We're using up Earth's resources at such a rate that they're not going to be there for future generations.
Oh my goodness! So how far back are we from December?
Back to August. We're back into the 8th month already of the year.
Oh my! That's okay.
We need to get back to October, November, December. Obviously, December 31st is the ideal date for World Overshoot Day. Yeah, we use just the right amount of world resources, but we're using them at such a rate now that they're going to disappear in the future.
So that's 4 months of overshooting.
Yeah. For the last 4 months of this year, we're using stuff which should be there for future generations.
Yeah, it's incredible when you think about it, like a bank account. If you did that with your bank, you'd be evicted.
Yeah.
But you can't be evicted from planet Earth. Where are we going to go?
There's no alternative planet. No.
Right.
This is the only one we have to live on, and it's as with greenhouse gases. One of the things that I realized when I was on the pilgrimage is that greenhouse gases don't respect borders. We're basically, one of the big banner we carried through Italy was one human family. Each step counts. We're one human family. We all share this planet, whether irrespective of country, irrespective of religion. This is our home. This is the only home we have, and we've got to start looking after it.
Mm-hmm. It could be a paradise if we would just respect it.
We have to make a change in our lifestyles. Basically, that's the only because if we don't, ultimately we'll be forced to. we've like the migrations that are happening now. These sort of things will happen to everybody eventually.
Well, so, it sounds like we need to do something about all our consuming, that we consume a bit too much.
We're consuming too much, yeah. One of the things that I sort of realized on the walk was the word progress. Very often when people talk about progress, they talk about increased growth, more stuff. To me, progress is scaling down to a livable planet, a sustainable planet, where we're not using that. To me, is progress.
Right. So really,
it requires a mind shift, to change in the way we look at everything. We cannot continue to live as we have been living, because we are digging deeper into a problem.
Into a grave.
If we go on like this, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the things then to focus on are things that are meaningful and sustainable, and for people and planet and animals and plants and water.
Yeah, but basically, everyone has to buy food all the time. So what we buy is very important. We should buy it locally. So much energy is used transporting by truck or ship stuff from all over the world.
I know, it's crazy.
It's and I think that's increased so many-fold in the last 20 years. It's going to increase. They're building bigger ships to carry more containers, building ports to accommodate them. We should be buying local.
Yes, and eating local.
Eating local.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about, sort of on the subject loosely of food, what about biofuel? You hear about all these people who are, saving their, the oil from the fries. And in fact, we had a guest about a year ago, Oluwanjo T'Challa, who started Alafia, which is a phenomenal shea butter product that we have at the Healthy Home Market. And they get all the shea nuts from Togo, Africa. And so it's real shea butter. And he traveled the country in his Alafia van, all through powered by biodiesel or biofuel. And it was pretty interesting. And of course, there's others too. There's conversation about algae and various different forms of biofuels of sorts.
Yeah, there's many ways we can sort of reduce our need for fossil fuels. Biofuels and algae are being looked at, but the prime ones that are there at the moment for us is wind and solar. For me, the ultimate solution will be wave power, and there are hundreds of different systems being developed around the world at the moment, mainly in Australia, Scotland, and places like this, so that in a sense, wave power is guaranteed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If you can harvest that energy, because most people live on the coast,
yes,
you've got a guaranteed source of energy which will always be there.
That's so fascinating. Isn't that very big in Scandinavia? The whole wave power, isn't that, that's a big deal in Scandinavia? Doesn't Norway have quite a lot of wave power?
It's being tried in many countries. Scotland seems to be the leading one. I think my wave power page gives more information about that. But it's been tested in different countries. Australia's trying a few things. So there's a lot of investment. There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of different alternatives. So it's a question of where. Eventually, this will be the solution, I think, to the world's problems. Combining it with wind and solar, wave power will give us 100% of renewable energy.
It's fascinating to think about, and it's important because there's more and more devices between iPhones and iPads and computers, and everything is electric now. It even drives me crazy when I go to into a ladies' room at a restaurant, and you're going to reach for your paper towel, and it all comes out electrically.
Fine, but on the walk, we always had portable solar panels with us that charge the phones up.
Now that's a great idea. Where do you get one of those?
Oh, I'm sure they're around in stores. I don't know which ones. I haven't. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing to Google, folks. A solar-powered recharger or a charger for your phone. That's a great idea. So stay with us, folks. We're going to take just another short break. Don't go away. We've got lots more to talk about here about how to keep the planet well for you and your kids and your grandkids right here on Streets 103.3.
Feeling tired after meals? Are you embarrassed by occasional gas, bloating, or indigestion at inopportune times? You may have an enzyme deficiency. Did you know that many common digestive discomforts can be caused by poor digestion? When food isn't completely digested, it begins to ferment in the digestive tract, which may cause uncomfortable symptoms that are also not healthy. Digest Gold is America's #1 selling enzyme product. It offers unparalleled support for your digestive needs. Digest Gold contains exclusive blends of enzymes optimized to be 3 times stronger and work more than 6 times faster than other leading digestive supplements. With just 1 capsule per meal, Digest Gold offers natural support to break down carbohydrates, fats, fiber, and protein. Enzymedica products are all natural, vegetarian, contain absolutely no fillers, and when possible are vegan and kosher. You'll find Digest Gold and other Enzymedica products at fine health food stores near you. Learn more at enzymedica.com. That's ENZYMEDICA.com. Enzymedica.com.
Get healthy at the Healthy Home Market, your locally owned natural and specialty foods grocery store. Try new Fresh Daily Hot Bar with meats, fish, and veggies. Cool off with fresh juices, smoothies, and banana whips. Stay healthy with the Healthy Home Market.
Does your business recycle their cardboard? If not, they should. Recycling cardboard at your business can save money. It's not only the right thing to do, it can save money as well. Now that's a winner-winner chicken dinner. And we want to help, so log on to wipeoutwaste.com.
Hey, we're here for you and with you this morning, this Christmas morning. Merry Christmas. Well, just after Christmas, but it still feels like Christmas. And this is the Healthy Home Hour, sponsored by the Healthy Home Market. Alan Burns is with us, and we're talking about sustainability. One thing we haven't mentioned is plastic, and there are so many plastic bottles. I mean, they talk about plastic islands the size of Costa Rica off the Pacific, off of Alaska.
Yeah, there's billions of tons of plastic in the oceans. A lot of it, I was reading this morning and I'll probably put this on my page soon, is that most of it is unseen. But 88% of the oceans have plastic. And it's really devastating marine life. All sorts of animals sort of ingesting it. All the plastic breaks down to small particles, and it's seen as fish food. And so ultimately, they're part of the food chain.
And we're eating plastic fish, basically.
I have no idea what we're eating in fish at the moment. It's unknown. But just the amount of plastic that people use, I refuse to accept a plastic bag when they want to put a little item in a plastic bag at a store. I say no, I'll carry it. I'll put it in my tote bag.
Right.
We don't have to keep having plastic bags. In some countries now, they've introduced fees on a plastic bag, and the use has gone down like 90%.
Really? That's
because there's a
fascinating.
cost to plastic bags.
Wonderful. Yeah, we don't carry them at the Healthy Home Market. It's all paper bags. Mm-hmm. But people should also be carrying totes.
Yeah. I always keep a couple in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really important. There's I'd like to just ask you before we go, we don't have a lot more time. Everybody gets confused. They say, oh, well, there's really not global warming because, look, the Antarctic is getting bigger and thicker and there's more ice down there than there used to be. And what is all this business about global warming?
Well, no, I think I'd say people need to go to my page on glaciers and the Antarctic and Arctic. That's on the right-hand side, downside. And I've got a whole series of columns about the Antarctic. Yeah, it's there's big chunks of it now beginning to break off, and that's by themselves is going to raise sea level rise.
Now, you mentioned earlier that 27 feet of sea level rising if Greenland melts and all of that. I mean, that's...
Yeah, if we get to... Again, we're in uncharted territory. No one really knows what's going to happen. But the scientists have theorized that if we get to 2 degrees, then we could have anything up to 60 feet of sea level rise around the world. And 60% of the world's... 6 billion people live near the coast. So big cities like Shanghai, London, New Orleans, Boston, New York, Miami, they're gonna disappear if we get a serious sea level rise. So we really need to keep it down to 1.5. But it's up to the people to pressure politicians to enact what they said they would do.
What's the best way to do that? What's the best way to pressure our governments?
Well, first of all, take note of what politicians are saying when they run for office. Ask them the serious questions. Unfortunately, in the debates they've been having in this country over the last few months, the environment just doesn't seem to be an issue. We have to make it an issue. We have to realize it is the most important issue on the planet. It's much more important than all the other ones they keep putting up there.
Yeah, it is like the major issue, really.
Yeah, we're talking about
time.
survival of a species here. And there's a book, and I forget the name of the person who wrote it, called The Sixth Extinction, because that is now a real possibility if we keep going on the way we're going.
Yeah, the Elizabeth Colbert's book.
Yeah, that's her.
It's been on the New York Times bestsellers list for months and months, and maybe a year. I'm not sure, but a long time.
Yeah, maybe people need to start looking at that and realizing that we have a problem ahead, and it's for future generations. If we care about our children and grandchildren, it's up to us to take the action now. We can't wait any longer. If we wait, we're just watching the problem get worse.
Well, and it's, you know what, I find it so fascinating and hopeful because you're talking about all these things that we can do, various alternative energies, and that there really is, now's the time. And if everybody would, put it forward in your mind, it's even important with the food you buy, that you buy organic, stay away from GMOs, because they are engineered to handle more pesticides and herbicides. And so it's important to try to go back to the earth, back to something natural.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Alan, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for all the work you do, and that incredible pilgrimage that you did just recently from Rome to Paris.
I highlight them on my homepage on the website.
Terrific. So that's thinkglobalgreen.org. Check it out. Educate yourself, educate your family, your friends, and continue to eat well. So stay away from that GMO food. And thanks for being here. Merry Christmas weekend to you all. I'm Holly Adams. We've been with Alan Burns, and I'll see you next week. We're going to talk with Eden Foods president, a long-time company, 20 years or more that they've been in business. They kind of started the health food revolution, and I'll look forward to talking with you then. Until then, be well and peace out.
Pay it forward and restore yourself by making the healthy choices for you and your family, and enjoy life with the Healthy Home Market. Feel the goodwill and own great health. Check it out at healthyhomemkt.com. That's healthyhomemkt.com for store locations, details, and discounts. Get